Margaret strained against the rope, her shoulders burning. The heavy hull creaked, but refused to lift from the frozen ground.
It's a coffin you are building, woman. You'll rot inside it before spring.
She didn't look at him. She dug her heels deeper and pulled until the hemp cut into her gloves. A rope snapped. Margaret was thrown backward onto the stones. The air smashed from her lungs.
Get up. He's watching. Get up before you become the story.
She clawed at the frozen mud and forced herself upright. Blood streaked her palms, but she grabbed the mast line again.
Not today. I am not finished today.
She reset the pulleys with numb fingers and threw her weight against the hull once more. Slowly, the boat began to tilt.
She'll drown in that thing come the first storm. Mark my words.
The hull rose another few inches against the gray sky, its curved belly now pointing toward the blue fjord. Margaret did not stop. Months earlier, the winter sea had swallowed her husband's boat without leaving even a spar. The fishing boat had been their livelihood, their future. Now, it was all she had left of him. She had gone to Lars, the village carpenter, asking for timber to roof her stone shelter.
Just enough planks to keep the rain out, Lars. He would have wanted me to have a roof.
Sell the boat, Margaret. That hull is worth a man's full labor. Use the coin for proper lumber.
But selling the boat meant selling the last piece of her husband.
I will not sell his boat. It is all I have. It will be my roof.
And so she had hauled the hull to the stone base, resolving to turn it into a home with nothing but rope and rage. She began the impossible task of flipping it. The hull would become her shelter, her defiance, her answer to a village that had written her off. For 3 days, she built a web of ropes and pulleys around the hull, using the mast as a lever.
Every knot must hold. There is no one to catch me if it fails.
On the 4th night, under a frozen moon, she began the final pull. The hull groaned as the timber bent under strain. A rope frayed with a sound like a whip cracking. The hull lurched sideways, threatening to crush her. She threw herself against the mast, catching the slack with bleeding hands before the hull could fall. Pain seared through her shoulders, but she held. The hull creaked and steadied above her.
I will not be crushed by my own home. Not tonight.
She reset the lines with frozen fingers and pulled again. Inch by inch, the hull rose until it balanced on the edge. With a final heave, it toppled upside down onto the stone base, with a thunderous crack that echoed across the fjord. For the first time in weeks, silence. The hull sat inverted, a dark shell against the snow, waiting. She built a fire beneath a pot of pitch and began sealing every plank from end to end.
Not one seam can leak. One crack, and the cold will find it.
Using a hot knife, she worked tar into the joints until the hull was slick and black. She cut a door near one end and a chimney hole where the hull arched highest.
Almost ready. Just a fire inside.
That evening, she lit a small flame in the center of the upturned hull. Warmth flooded the space instantly, trapped by the curved ceiling and thick tar. Outside, a faint orange glow seeped from under the hull's edge, the only light on the frozen shore.
It holds tonight, but winter is not here yet.
The hull home was complete, a dark shell on the coast, waiting for its first true test. Weeks passed, and the first frost of early winter painted the shoreline white.
The hull holds warmth better than any log wall I've ever known.
One morning, a knock came at her door.
I had to see this for myself, Margaret. It's warm in here, I'll give you that. We haven't seen a real blow yet, though.
The cracks are sealed. The shape does the rest.
Outside, Lars watched the visit with cold, suspicious eyes.
Fool boy. A boat is for the sea, not for a roof. The first gale that comes off the fjord will rip it right off her stones.
Let him mock. I'll be warm and dry when his own roof starts leaking.
That evening, the first hard chill of the season descended over the coast, and the hull glowed like a lantern against the frozen dark, while the village cabins shivered in the deepening cold, waiting for winter's true judgment. By midday, the sky thickened to iron, and the first storm of winter came howling down the fjord. Wind rattled the village cabins, searching for loose planks and weak seams.
Astrid, move the cradle away from the window. It's coming through the chinking.
In Margaret's Hull home, the fire flickered, but the air stayed still. No draft, no whistle.
The tar is holding. The curve is breaking the wind.
Across the village, Bjorn climbed onto his roof in the gale, hammering patches over spreading cracks.
Bjorn, it's still dripping. The baby is crying from the cold.
Margaret heard the hammering echo across the shore but felt no need to stir from her fire.
This is only the first one. If a real storm hits, they won't survive with patches.
By dawn, the gale had passed. The Hull home stood as dry as the day it was sealed, while the village cabins dripped with cold damp. In the days after the storm, Lars walked the village road, spreading his poison with every handshake.
That hull will collapse under the first heavy snow. Mark my words. Don't trust her madness.
Bjorn and Astrid's cabin grew worse by the day. Rot spread and water pooled under the baby's cradle.
We can't keep patching it, Bjorn. The baby is coughing. She needs a dry bed.
Margaret heard Lars's words when she came to the village for salt, and she stopped cold.
He's poisoning the well, but his pride won't mend their roofs.
She found Lars outside the timber shop, arms crossed, as if guarding his useless planks.
Your words won't keep the cold out, Lars. When the next storm hits, your pride won't save this village.
You are the fool, woman. No boat roof will survive a real blizzard. You'll see.
The tension between them thickened like frost on a window pane, but the sky promised more snow. The days grew short, and the sea turned black. A herdsman warned of a green sky to the north, the sure sign of a nor'easter.
A nor'easter. The kind that rips roofs off. I need to check every seam again.
She spent the day driving extra pitch into the hull and stacking heavy stones around the base against the wind. In the village, men nailed planks over windows, and women stuffed rags into cracks. But the cabins shuddered even in the stillness.
We've boarded up solid, Margaret. No boat roof will outlast this. I'll take my chances with what I know.
It's not knowing that saves you, Bjorn. The seals are what matter. Tar and pitch don't care about tradition.
The first gusts hit at dusk, whipping snow across the shore and rattling every loose board in the village. Margaret stood in her doorway, watching the white wall of snow advance, and whispered a prayer.
Hold, my love's boat. Hold for me.
The nor'easter screamed down the fjord, and the world vanished into a roaring white fury. The blizzard hammered the hull, shaking the stone base. Margaret pulled her knees to her chest and listened.
This roar, the hull barely trembles. Outside, that's a nightmare.
A deafening crack split the night. Not a falling tree, a roof beam. Close.
That was Bjorn's place. Astrid, the baby. Number.
Another crash, then screams, swallowed instantly by the screaming gale.
I want to run out, but the cold would kill me before I reached them.
She fed the fire with driftwood, her hands steady, her heart hammering. The hull groaned, but it was the sound of flexing, not failing. The tarred planks holding as one.
He built this boat to last, to bring him home. Now it's cradling me.
The storm raged on through the night, an endless battering ram as the village outside dissolved into ruin. Dawn broke in, a ghostly hush, the wind gone, the world buried under a thick white blanket. Margaret pushed open the door and saw the village reduced to splinters.
Whole roof's gone. Lars's shop, the church. Nothing left standing.
She found Bjorn and Astrid digging through the wreckage of their cabin, the baby silent but alive in Astrid's arms.
She's breathing, but so cold, Margaret. Our home is gone. We have nothing. We have nothing.
I should have listened. You were right. The boat. It's the only thing that held.
All around them, villagers clawed at the snow, searching for blankets and children. Margaret stood still, her breath a cloud, her hull home solid and dark behind her, like a sleeping beast.
They called it a coffin. Now it's the only shelter for miles.
She turned back toward her door, the inside of the hull still warm, still dry, still waiting.
Margaret, please. The baby won't last the night in the cold.
We have nowhere else. There's no other shelter standing.
A ragged line of survivors formed behind them, their eyes fixed on the warm glow under the hull. A voice from the crowd, hoarse with cold. You have the only dry floor for miles. She found Lars among them, his head bowed, not a word of defiance left.
I can't hold them all. The hull can maybe shelter 10, but 20 are here.
The temperature was dropping. Breath hung in the air like clouds, and the children started to whimper. A mother clutched a silent bundle to her chest, her eyes begging more than words could.
They called me crazy. They called this boat a coffin, and now they look at it like it's a church.
The sun slipped below the hills, and the first stars pricked the frozen sky. She had to decide. Now.
He always said the boat would bring us home. Tonight it brings strangers.
She unlatched the door and stepped aside, her breath clouding in the cold.
You are a better person than any of us. We should never have doubted you.
Astrid set the baby near the fire, and the hull seemed to exhale. A thin voice sliced through the cold from outside. Please, the little ones can't feel their hands.
Bring them. All of you. Shuffle together. The fire can't grow, but our bodies can share the heat.
2 more children, shivering violently, and a mother whose hands were raw and bleeding from digging. Bjorn's jaw tightened, but he pulled his knees to his chest to make room, saying nothing.
No one complains. No one hoards warmth. If we fight, the cold will find us. Now give me your hands. Hold, old boat. Carry them through the night, just one more time.
The first hours were tense. Cramped limbs and empty stomachs frayed tempers quickly.
We're packed like herring in a barrel. Can't a man breathe?
Open your mouth to complain, and the cold hears you. Save your breath for the fire.
The baby started to wail, and the sound bounced off the curved planks, sharp and desperate.
Form a ring. Backs against the ribs of the hull. Bodies inward. Let the shell do the rest.
Then the wind shrieked again. A second fury, worse than the first, hammered the seaward side. Snow pelted the hull like gravel, and the frame groaned. The family pressed closer, too scared to speak.
One more gale, old boat. Carry this weight one more time.
The hours blurred. The fire burned low, and the hull shuddered, but it did not crack. When dawn's gray light crept through the chimney hole, the storm was gone, and every soul was still breathing. The hull was warm with the heat of bodies and fire, the scent of tar mixing with damp wool and smoke.
You saved us, Margaret. I'll never forget this.
We owe you our lives. What can we do?
Outside, Lars stood alone in the snow, watching the smoke rise thin and steady from the hull's chimney.
I called it a coffin, but it's a cradle. I was wrong.
One by one, the other men stopped digging through wreckage and stared at the glowing hull, shame spreading like frost. Margaret stepped out to greet the frightened faces. The hull safe and solid, but a long winter still ahead. An old fisherman in the crowd grunted. She did what we wouldn't. She'll have to teach us now.
They're looking to me, but there's so much work, and the winter is far from over.
The guilt was palpable, but gratitude had not yet turned into action. The frozen ruins of the village demanded more than words. Lars stepped forward, his boots crunching on the snow, the weight of silence pressing on the crowd.
Margaret, I need to speak.
He met her eyes, and for the first time, there was no condescension, only the raw, cracked face of a man who had been wrong.
I said this was a coffin. I was wrong. You were right. We need your way. Will you teach us?
This is real. No tricks. But I won't be a servant. They must listen, and they must work. I'll teach. But you'll respect the knowledge, and you'll respect this boat. It's the only reason any of you are alive.
We will. I swear it.
The other men in the crowd nodded, their breath misting in the cold. The power had shifted irrevocably.
Now the real work begins. The boat taught me. Now I teach them.
She gave a single nod, and the village exhaled. The deal was sealed, and the rebuilding would begin at dawn. At dawn, the village assembled before Margaret's hull, their faces etched with cold and desperation.
Every family with a boat hull, drag it here. No excuses. We need them all.
Men went to old boat sheds and pulled out neglected hulls, dragging them across the frozen ground. She showed them how to heat the pitch in iron pots until it bubbled like black lava, then work it deep into the seams.
Fill every crack, as if your children's breath depends on it, because it does.
Bjorn worked with a desperate energy, his hands blistered from the hot tar.
I want to be the first to flip mine. I owe her that much.
They rigged the pulleys, and with a collective groan of ropes and timber, Bjorn's boat rose into the air and flipped over. When it settled onto the stone base with a solid thud, a ragged cheer broke the winter silence.
One down, a dozen to go. But maybe, just maybe, we can survive this winter.
Over the next week, the village worked frantically. 3 more hulls dragged into position.
Lars, that seam is still weeping. Heat the pitch again. We don't have time for half measures.
I'll get it right. I won't fail this time.
Lars worked with a desperate intensity, his hands raw and bleeding, his pride stripped away, staining his coat with black tar as he sealed plank after plank.
Astrid, bring the blankets and the cradle. We'll move in tonight.
It's so small, Bjorn, but it's dry. For the first time in weeks, the baby won't wake up coughing.
The women swept the dark interiors, laid down fresh straw and furs, and hung small lanterns from the arched ribs of the boats, bringing a strange coziness to the hulls. By week's end, 5 upturned hulls dotted the shore, their black seams sealed, small fires lit inside each, and thin smoke curling into the pale winter sky.
They're no longer oddities. They're homes. And there aren't enough yet.
The village had changed shape, but the sky to the north still carried the bruised, heavy look of more snow to come. That night, the bruised sky split open, and the 3rd blizzard roared down from the north with a fury that shook the earth. Snow hammered the upturned hulls, but their curved backs shed the gale effortlessly, the wind screaming over them like water around a river stone. Inside each black shell, families sat in the warm glow of driftwood fires, listening to the storm outside with a sense of fragile safety. A cabin on the far edge, too damaged to repair, finally collapsed under the weight of snow, but no one was inside. In Margaret's hull, she sat alone, the firelight dancing on the curved planks, and she allowed herself a small, tight smile. For hours, the blizzard raged, but not a single hull home was torn. Not a single seam wept water. When the wind finally died near dawn, the village emerged from their shell homes into a world of blinding white, but one that was alive. Lars walked to Margaret as she stood by her door, and for a long moment, he could only shake his head, his eyes wet.
We called you crazy. We called this a coffin. But you buried our foolishness and saved us all.
She looked past him at the line of upturned boats, their chimneys smoking, and the village, for the first time that winter, truly safe. As the ice cracked and spring neared, the village gathered, patched but no longer gaunt. Lars handed her a small token, carved from the old hull, etched with a tiny upturned boat.
I called this a coffin. I was the coffin maker. Burying hope. Margaret, your boat brought us home. We owe you more than words.
Bjorn and Astrid grinned, the baby pink-cheeked, their thanks in silent nods. She took the token, and for a moment, she was that woman on the shore again, alone with a rope.
This wasn't mine alone. It was his. The man who built this boat. He always said, "A boat that brings you home is a good boat." Now I know.
A quiet cheer rose, not of victory, but of a village given back its soul. She stood a while longer, the token warm, feeling the boat had brought her home at last. After the gathering, Margaret slipped away and walked the winding path to the old launching shore. The ice was breaking, floes grinding softly in the current, the fjord beginning to breathe again.
This is where you left, and this is where I brought you back.
She knelt and pressed the wooden token to the cold water, letting the sea touch it.
You said the boat would always bring us home. Eirik. It caught fish, and it caught storms. But in the end, it caught us a roof, a cradle, a village.
A long silence followed, only the lap of water against the stones. Then she stood, lighter. The token stayed in her pocket, soft with wear, as the hull home glowed reassuringly on the shore.
Good boat, good man, good work.
The wind carried no threat, and spring was on its way. The years turned, and the village forgot what a collapsed roof looked like. Upturned boats lined the shore like a strange reversed fleet, their chimneys smoking through every winter. Margaret's hair had grayed, but the hull still held firm, patched with fresh tar each autumn. She sat by the fire, turning a small carved fish in her weathered hands.
Eirik's hands carved this. The boat outlasted every cabin they ever said would stand forever.
Children played tag around the hulls, their laughter echoing off the curved wood, where once only wind howled. She no longer had to teach. The knowledge had rooted deeper than any timber. One evening, she walked the shore once more, the token still in her pocket, and looked at the line of homes she had inspired. The boat had not just survived, it had multiplied, and somewhere out on the fjord, she knew Eirik was still steering them home. One morning, years later, an old woman stood alone on the shore and watched the sun lift over the fjord. The upturned hull stood black against the pale gold light, smoke rising thin from her chimney.
All those winters, all those storms, it never failed.
She had done what they said could not be done. She had turned a coffin into a cradle, and when the village men finally came to her, they did not ask for timber. They asked how to flip their own boats. She flipped it, and it outlasted them all. The boat that once braved the sea had become a home, a shelter, a village, and a legacy. She smiled and started back toward the warm glow seeping from under the hull, knowing the old boat would carry them all through one more winter. And beneath the hull, the firelight danced on the curved planks, just as it always had, a small sun in the long dark.